Welcome, strangers, to Talkumentary, a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about them.
I loved that.
Yeah, well, we're good.
That's it.
Okay, I guess that's
Let's
it.
call it.
right.
That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Guys, shh, be quiet. Do you guys hear that? It sounds like another episode of Talkumentary. Welcome back, everyone, to Talkumentary. My name is Jeff. I am your host. Tonight, I'm in the dark, dingy basement with Molly and Brice. How are you guys? Woo! Woo!
Feeling scared and spooky. Feeling haunted.
It's very haunted down here today.
We have a seance going on.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles and a little plastic skull.
What do you mean it's not real?
It is not real, no. Unfortunately. Yes, we are doing today's episode completely by candlelight and the light of these little screens in front of us because we are talking about the Sleepless Unrest, the Conjuring Home.
We have been warned something bad is still here.
Let's just film everything. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's staying at a place for more than one night or 2 nights. We're living with this. Holy. Be careful what you ask for. Whoa! They will get your attention.
But before we get any further into that, we have a very special guest for every one of our Talkumentary listeners. I was able to get in touch with a good friend of mine who happens to live only a few minutes from the Conjuring House. He grew up in Rhode Island, which is considered to be, and he'll speak to this one of the most haunted and spooky parts of the country. He is an amazing tattooer. He is self-admittedly scared of everything.
Me too.
And he's on the line with us right now. Friends, strangers, please welcome the one and only Mr. Andrew Milko. Andrew.
Hello, friends. Hello.
Hi, sir. How are you, man?
I'm like a disembodied voice in an old house.
So cold and non-existent.
That's very on theme.
Yeah, I like a flickering light.
Yeah. Did you you watch this documentary? What'd you in 2 words? What did you think?
Not good.
Those are appropriate 2 words for sure. Thanks for being on our show with us, man. As soon as we were watching this and I saw where it was located, I admittedly didn't know much about the Conjuring House. I'd seen the first movie, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. And I saw Rhode Island. What was the name of the town, Andrew, that's in?
Is it?
It's like,
so I feel like it's not Burrillville, but it's really close to Burrillville.
yeah, I've got it in these notes somewhere. Doesn't
There's
matter.
so many of these little villages around here that are not technically the town that they're in.
Are they all ooky spooky towns?
So much spooky business. That is the one part that thing got right, which is that this is a very spooky end of the world. Lots of old villages and graveyards and dilapidated and less dilapidated houses. And I'm actually calling you from the attic of a 1885 church.
Oh,
so,
dang.
Yeah.
I've actually been in there. I'm happy to say
you've been there.
I was an early visitor of your shop, which is very, very cool.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining us this
haunted.
week. Not very haunted anymore, especially not since you're there. This week, we watched, like we said, an ooky spooky 80-minute documentary called The Sleepless Unrest, The Real Conjuring Home.
It was so painful to watch.
This was made in 2021, so very recently. Followed around a small group of paranormal investigators, if you want to call them that. as they attempt to survive 2 weeks in the world-famous house in Harrisville, Rhode Island, that inspired the Conjuring horror film series. Believe it or not, the Sleepless Unrest has not won or been nominated for any awards.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, can you believe that,
Not
Brice?
yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No accounting for taste.
Didn't get into the BAFTAs this time.
Yeah,
Next time.
However, this doc did get some really incredible reviews from critics, and I wrote a few of them down. Matthew Pejkovic from Matt's Movie Reviews calls this, quote, a paranormal nothing burger with extra cringe, which I thought was pretty good. Let's see. Dane Linford from Battleship Pretension, which is a pretty fun name. It's just also disappointing, and you're left wondering if they're just as thoroughly bored with it all as we were. So,
Honestly, seemed like it.
Yeah, it did. The Sleepless Unrest does not even register on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter. So if you go and look it up, it doesn't even have a score. But it does have an audience score, surprisingly, of 85, but it only has a whopping 100 ratings. So let's see. Let's get into the credits. Directed by Kendall and Vera Welpton, who also starred in it. Produced by Corey Frost, Kendall and Vera Welpton. This film was a Grativas Ventures and Robot Ninja production, which is a super corny name. We streamed it on Amazon Prime Video, so no fault of Amazon Prime for this garbage. But we will, of course, as always, have the link to these credits in our show notes. Quick warning, we are going to give spoilers to this, so if you're thinking about getting on and watching this, maybe do that before you listen, or save yourself 80 minutes and don't. And just listen to it. Listen to this. Listen to this episode.
Right. And if you watched it and you enjoyed it, turn this episode off because you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it at all.
Let's talk about, unfortunately, let's talk about why we decided to watch The Sleepless Unrest this week. The documentary we were scheduled to watch, I think, was going to be really good.
Yeah, I was really excited for it. Not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna name it just because I think hopefully it will come on a streaming service sometime and we can watch it. But we had to kind of call an audible on this one. I tried for something paranormal because we don't have anything scheduled to do paranormal, regardless of my feelings, my skepticism towards the paranormal. It should be noted, though, that I choose these documentaries, the ones that I choose them based on the names and the cover alone, which the cover's pretty cool.
Awesome. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And the title was really promising.
Yeah, I
was
thought
like,
so too.
The Conjuring House. Like, this is going to be so cool. It's going to be so nifty.
Agreed. The cover kind of has the cabin in the woods with the glowing orange windows with smoke coming out, and there's two eyes in the trees.
It's very spooky.
For as far as, paranormal movie cover documentaries go, it's fine. But
it's fine.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the movie.
It literally is. Yep.
I was so scared to watch the movie when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be a scary thing." And,
right.
Haunted houses, and lucky for me, that cover really, really oversold it.
Yeah,
so.
Lucky for you, especially because, like I mentioned before, Andrew, you said you're scared of everything. So, but prior to, what were your predictions here?
I figured it was going to be like a documentary.
Figured it was going to be
an actual
scary
one,
right?
And then maybe give some history or talk about anything. And I would be scared, especially even though it was 9 a.m. in my spooky studio up here, in the rain and the cold and the gray. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be good. I hope I can sleep tonight." And
how'd you sleep?
Spoiler. I'm gonna sleep fine. I'll be
slept like a baby.
Yeah, I'll be good. No problem. I could pretend like our illustrious hosts of the documentary. I could pretend like I'm not sleeping, but
right.
I think I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Oh, did you hear that thump over there? Did you? Because I heard that.
Are you keeping the lights on or off?
Yeah, well, I think I sleep better with them off, even if there's a ghost in my room. I consider, before watching this, I consider myself to be a skeptic of all things paranormal, of all things spiritual, especially when it comes to like hauntings and things like that. And we'll kind of get into some of the things that they found and why it was bullshit. But I didn't really realize how hard it was going to be to actually get pulled into this because admittedly, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in spirits. I don't believe in the paranormal, but I love the lore behind all of that. Andrew, you know this because I have lucky things tattooed all over me.
Yes.
I love little charms. I love 4-leaf clover. I have my lucky walnut on my leg. I have, Andrew, these guys are raising their eyebrows when I said lucky walnut on my leg. But you didn't even skip a beat, did you? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Me and Brice just took a look at each other and was like, huh?
Normal stuff.
Yep. In the life of Jeff and Andrew, this is just normal shit.
I don't think I've ever heard of a walnut being lucky, but
it's lucky to me. So
that's all we needed to know.
But predictably or not unpredictably, I was completely surprised. If there was one thing I was surprised about this documentary, was how cliche and uninteresting it really was. Molly, going into this, what'd you think?
Well, I was hoping for a spooky story about the Conjuring house, and I was very pleasantly surprised to hear that someone had moved into it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool. And then they lost me for the rest of it. And it just felt like a paranormal investigation that you can watch on YouTube of people being like,
absolutely.
Oh my God, did you hear that floorboard creak? And I'm like, you're in a 200-year-old house. It's settling. The wind is outside. What do you mean? So I was expecting more about like the doll or like something about the actual haunting, some context, some anything. And it was just noises that the house is making. And that's it.
Right. So with what Andrew said was they didn't, and when I agree with, they didn't give any history.
None.
Of what they just said, the same one that was in the movies. Mm-hmm. So how about you tell us why that house is creepy, why there could be haunting there. Let's talk. It would have been scarier just as a historical documentary than it was than what they did. It was so cheesy.
They just used The Conjuring as like clickbait, but didn't actually like get into any of it where they could have definitely capitalized on. And this is the room that the story is based on, like whatever. Like they kind of were like, this is where the most hauntings happen, but that's it.
What hauntings?
What
About
hauntings?
what?
Tell me what happened.
I don't want to have to do research before the documentary, which is exactly why I didn't care for Grey Gardens, because you didn't know anything until you had
until you went. Great point.
Yeah,
that was at least more entertaining.
If you didn't grow up around here, I mean, I feel like that Grey Gardens, that's normal stuff. You know, you got a batty old aunt who comes over only periodically and seems to be wearing a lot of costume jewelry. Now that, is
that
one
true?
I knew about.
Is that your life?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go any further, since we're trying to make this episode interesting on an uninteresting documentary, let's all get real quiet. Let's light our candles, spread out a little sand pentagram that is clearly put there by somebody before they recorded.
That was.
Let's.
We're gonna take our moment.
Let's forget. Let's suspend our disbelief and forget for a second how god awful this was.
I would love to.
And let me give you a little history of the Conjuring House, since the documentary failed to do that. Andrew, if you know anything about this as I'm going, please, in your spookiest voice, interject. DJ in the booth, in the post-production booth, cue the spooky music. Nestled along a quiet highway on the far northern border of Rhode Island, backed up to acres upon acres of the darkest wooded forests. It's okay to laugh, guys.
Because Brice wants to go, ooh so bad. The voice is good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sits a small wooden farm home. The house, as it now stands, was built in the year 1736, 40 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But the property's history dates back long before this. The homestead has survived some of the country's bloodiest wars: the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and King Philip's War. Andrew, are you there?
Sir. I'm here.
Are you familiar with King Philip's War?
I'm quite familiar with King Philip's War.
Because I wasn't.
I'm still not.
Is it because it happened somewhere around where you...
Well, it happened... a lot of it happened, I mean, literally where I am, which is a little village called Wickford.
Oh, I love Wickford. I was there.
It's a great little place. But King Philip's War... the thing about the King Philip's War, and they talk about that in the movie, which is like one of the very few things they talk about. But the house wasn't standing during King Philip's War. King Philip's War is in the like mid to late 1600s. We should look this up so I don't sound too dumb.
Right.
But it was a war between the tribes and the settlers. And
the wrong team died. I mean,
brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. It sort of later we have the French and Indian War, which probably was a little closer to around there. But King Philip was a native leader.
Gotcha.
And around here there was. In Wickford, there was a bunch of different places. It's a thing in Rhode Island that there's a lot of markers. There's a lot of over in Exeter, one town over, is one of like the big forts that was kind of like there was a big battle at. There's a house near us called Smith's Castle that was built in the late 1600s that my father did a bunch of wiring for. So I was all in the attic and basement of it. But that was kind of part of it.
Your father was around in the 1600s? How old are you?
I'm medium old, but it was very...
Andrew's immortal.
I wish, man.
There can be only one. So...
Thanks for the history lesson, sir.
Yes, also, King Philip's real name, Metacomet. So...
Say it again?
Metacomet.
That's so much cooler than King Philip.
That's way better.
Mm-hmm.
King Philip's, I should say. Through the generations, many families have lived on this land, and many have also died here. Some who still are said to visit the home frequently. It is said that many of the people who lived in this house had died under mysterious and horrible circumstances, such as drownings, murders, hangings in the attic, none of which they talked about in this stupid-ass documentary. Needless to say, reports of hauntings have followed this house for decades, from small, harmless instances like items going missing or sounds of knocking when no one was around.
Knuckles?
No, my knuckles are hard. To the angry spirit of Bathsheba Sherman. DJ, put an echo on my voice for that one. Bathsheba Sherman, she lived in the property in the 1800s, a rumored Satanist who was suspected to have been responsible for the death of a neighbor's child. Reports of the smell of rotting flesh, beds rising off the floor, people being thrown violently from their beds, unprovoked speaking in tongues, and levitations. These were the actual reports that inspired the Conjuring films, and these were the things that our small crew of filmmakers and paranormal investigators hoped to experience as they prepared themselves for 2 weeks at this devilish abode, and these were the things that didn't fucking happen.
They should have just lied to us.
They
should have just faked their native, like the tongue thing.
Agreed. If they had at least pretended.
Right.
Use some CGI. Fool my ass.
Literally, have one of
then
the
at least it would have
producers
seemed
walk
like
into the
you
next room and
tried.
knock. Anything. Literally anything.
I feel like they did go and they tried that, you know?
That's true.
There was the music box. There was the
oh my God.
The light box. There was the speak box or whatever.
So many boxes.
The
Yeah.
spirit box. Spirit box.
Spirit box, yeah.
Speak box.
Oh, and the little lights in the woods. Ooh.
Yeah.
I was
Do
like,
I
you're
turn
in the
left
woods.
here? Left. Do I turn right? Right.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I
telling
can
me
hear
what to
it.
do.
Yeah.
The woods of Rhode Island are literally crawling with small graveyards. The idea that you wouldn't just walk into those woods and fall over a grave, the idea that that was some sort of hidden secret in that graveyard or something spooky in the woods. I bet where I'm sitting, I can see 3 graveyards from the window.
Why
Like that
is
is
Rhode
just
Island so
it's pretty
Awesome.
much pretty
sad and
standard,
morbid?
pretty standard New England.
So, see, Andrew, when you were just saying that, that made me feel more creeped out
than the entire
entirety of this documentary. Because, and when we were there and you were driving me around and showing me things, that kind of stuff is so cool. And I feel like if they had tapped into even a little bit of that instead of weighing so heavily on the Conjuring Home, like the house from the stupid movie, then this would have been even better.
The owners of the house weren't even freaked out either. They were just kind of chilling.
Because Brice,
I had to look it up.
Brice, go. Tell me what you told me yesterday. Tell them what you told me.
Tell us everything.
So the owners of the house that you see in the documentary, they bought the house for a crazy amount of money, $400,000, something like that.
Wow.
Crazy, right? And then they don't own it anymore. They sold it to a company which bought it for like 1.5 million.
What?
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do any renovations to it. As a matter of fact, they want it to be more dilapidated. So you talk about a good investment. Buy the damn house and then sell it for over double what you pay. Oh my
Buy
God.
the murder house. That's
Buy the murder house.
That's
And how much do you think that that this little crew had to pay to go there and stay for 2 weeks? I'm sure they had to pay something.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not a terrible, Andrew, just a food for thought. You and I have talked about investment opportunities in the past.
Buying murder houses.
Maybe you should think about buying something spooky out there and then selling it after it's even more spooky.
We are steeped in spooky houses out here, so
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably like a Zillow tab just
You're
for
spoiled
that.
for choices. Keyword on Zillow is haunted.
Spooky, yeah.
Spooky. What are you searching for? It has to have a 2-car garage and be spooky.
It's got to be at least this haunted. So.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10 spookiness,
3-bed, 2-bath, haunted.
1 ghost.
1 ghost.
As the days and nights come and go for our brave little filmmakers, they encounter eerie feelings, knocks, creaks, strange readings, lights in the woods, and various other seemingly inexplainable phenomena. Thankfully, they made it through the 2-week stay and returned home unscathed, ... Or did they?
Oh, did they?
They reported that the nightmares began after they visited the houses, and they fear that they may have inadvertently invited something to come home with them, leaving a nice little cliffhanger for us to think that maybe they're all haunted. So that's our quick synopsis, our quick bullshit that was truthfully probably more informative than anything in the documentary. Now we talk about our standout moments. So let's talk about some of the things that stood out to us in this. I will start. Overall,
Please do.
The unrelenting corniness and unprofessionalism of this entire thing was awful. And the corniest part, the part that had me at the very, very beginning, was the absurd, creepy voice at the very beginning. Millions of people around the world are becoming interested in investigating the paranormal. That
Did it for me.
I laughed out loud when I heard that. I went, what did I get us into?
Yeah.
Because this is so dumb. The little like stinger sounds every time something creepy happened, quote unquote creepy. Every time a football fell off the stool or something, and it made that like little like stinger noise in the music was so bad. And I hated it. Not gonna lie, I hated it. Hated every second of this.
So bad.
Andrew, what stood out to you? What?
I
when you
mean-
were watching this, when someone says, "Hey man, have you watched the Sleepless Unrest, the Real Conjuring Home?" and you say what?
I would say, why did you watch this? Did your friend make you watch this too? Because it seems crazy that someone would watch this. I really think
know.
It's a form of torture.
being a New Englander and growing up around here, the amount of times they were, as Molly had pointed out, walking in an old house and being surprised at how noisy an old house is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's supposed to
old.
mean, buddy.
It's dilapidated. Old.
Right.
You got some wide planks pines in there. That's gonna be freaky.
Exactly.
And them walking around the same woods that every child has spent their entire life traipsing around, stone walls and graveyards, and being shocked at finding an old graveyard with a stone wall, or at night where they're surprised that there are things in the woods that make noises. Those are called animals.
I know. They were like, I feel like I'm being watched. And I was like, it's probably a deer trying to see if you're a threat or not. Like,
right.
Stop.
Or a neighbor who's just like, oh God.
God, they're back at it. It's people at the Conjuring house again. God damn it.
I did a Google Maps search of the Conjuring house, and the way that they sell this, it being like out in the middle of the woods and it's so far, but there's literally a neighbor within eyesight down the road. Like, you're not really that far off from anything.
I want to hear that guy's story.
It's a kick.
That'd be more interesting than this documentary.
It's a kick-ass property, though. I mean, not gonna lie, that's a pretty sweet little spot.
Rhode Island is the the biggest little state in the union. But it's very, very different in every part. So that part of Rhode Island is just largely thought of as the sticks.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of the boondocks,
Yeah.
But it's also not like being in Montana or something. I'm sure there's a Dunkin' Donuts within 10 minutes of that house.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's just
100%.
Can't be that scary if you're that close.
Yep. Agreed.
To a mediocre iced coffee,
Mm-hmm.
So, and to go back to your point about the woods. So I lived in the woods for about a year when several years ago, I rented this little cabin, and there was 20 acres of woods. And as one would, I have been out there at night because it's fun to get yourself creeped out. Yeah. The woods make noise. Nature makes noise.
So many noises.
If a tree falls in a forest, it does make a
noise.
sound. It just does.
And if it's silent out there, that's when it's creepy.
Right.
I've been out there, just side note, I went out there when it was snowy, and snow like absorbs all the sound, so everything's quiet. That was so much creepier than just being out there when you're hearing, animals rustling around. Like, that's probably the world's smallest little squirrel, and you're making it sound like there's something out there.
I would watch 80 minutes of you spooked out by snow woods before I ever watched another 10 minutes of that documentary.
It's just an army of raccoons.
Yeah.
Not again. Not again.
Brice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk to me, man. What was standing out to you about?
Oh man,
the Sleepless Unrest.
Well, I want to be as positive as I can about the creators of this, and I'll mention that they went into this tiny hole in the basement, and they went into this little hole in the attic, and props to them for not being afraid of enclosed spaces. But there was nothing in either of those spaces. So,
but you could feel it, Brice.
Could you?
Well, they said you
probably
could.
Probably the hantavirus.
Could you feel the
the what, Andrew?
That was probably the hantavirus, from mouse poop.
Yeah, probably.
You really feel it.
Yeah, I think that the Grey Gardens was spookier, truthfully, than this house was. Anyway,
much spookier
and way more fun. I will say there was one thing in the house that actually kind of creeped me out. If it was real, whatever they were kind of selling it as. Has anyone ever heard of a birthing room?
That was the weirdest thing. I Googled it after, and apparently it was common in older houses.
A birthing room?
Yes. Apparently it was common because you didn't go to the hospital to give birth. So you dedicated one of the rooms.
No. You dedicated a attic closet where you can see the roofing nails coming through, and that's where you're going to put your wife to have your children.
And don't forget that's where the sand pentagram was.
Oh yeah, the sand pentagram was in the birthing room.
That definitely was not drawn before they came.
I will say though that
it was perfectly created and everything.
Yeah, it was so bad. Like nice white
how
sand.
when they rubbed it out, it seemed like somebody was in trouble.
Right.
You know, like somebody had done it and they were like, "This joke is not going over. Let's get rid of it. Get rid of it pretty quick."
We're gonna go ahead.
Dad's mad.
The homeowners don't want this here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it because I'm so brave.
Someone from last week just ruined our documentary.
Right. one of the people who rented this Airbnb before us.
Also, the fact that they just left the sand there, like get a broom, get a dustpan, get rid of the sand.
The sand was there so that the spirits could write to them.
Right. Come on, the paranormal Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
Molly?
First and foremost, I would like to say that I believe last time we recorded, I said, I want to find a documentary that's going to make Jeff absolutely hate it and give it a 0.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that you did it to yourself. And I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah.
Because I remember with Grey Gardens, I was like, I'm gonna purposely try to find something that's even worse.
Yeah.
Well,
I did it.
Yeah.
So,
good job, Jeff.
Yeah. Congratulations,
Yay.
me.
Many more to come.
Many more.
Yeah. I'm sure this ain't gonna be the last one.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing that made me like the most cringed was them going home after. So the very, very end, when they were talking about going home, having nightmares, all these weird things happening, their kids coming to them and saying, "Mommy, I hear stuff," like whatever. I was like, you guys just spent 2 weeks in a house where you full-heartedly believed a lot of spooky stuff was happening. You psyched yourself out. That's how the human brain works.
I guess I took the dirt with me. Maybe that's why it came with.
First of all, why are you taking dirt home? Second of all, like it's not like the sands of Florida that you're like keeping as like a keepsake.
So they had to keep the bottle that way because the barcode was on the back that the homeowners were probably selling in the basement.
Yeah, so
right?
them saying,
the Celestial Seasonings bottle.
Them saying they were getting nightmares, I was like, probably because you just didn't sleep for 2 weeks straight because you were so psyched out in the house. Now you're bringing that home with you. You're bringing bad juju just from like being scared and getting into a tiny well in the basement. Like the guy who lowered himself down, he was probably claustrophobic after because he was in a well.
Right.
Like what?
And the way he kind of
well.
The way he kind of lowered him to speak on what, you know, the guy in the little like sump pump pit.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the way he lowered him was like, I'm going in there. Guys, you're not going to believe how crazy I am.
And they were
I'm
like,
gonna go in
oh
my
God, don't do it. Like you're going to have to get back out.
Are you sure you're going to go in there? Come on. Okay, so
and they put that little
Who
plastic
watched
bag
their
with
kids for 2 weeks? Do you know how hard it is to get a good babysitter?
that's
hey, mom and dad are gonna go hang out with ghosts.
We're gonna go make the money. we already lost our life savings putting all of this filming together. Now we have to go see if we can make something out of it.
Now I know you wanna go to Disney World, guys, and that would be cool. Or maybe go see Mount Rushmore or something. But
something truly
we're gonna
historic.
go hang out in the woods, freak each other out
go to
for 2
Rhode
weeks,
Island
enjoy
in
grandma's.
the
Gross. The other kind of, and to speak about what Molly was saying about psyching yourself out. If you're psyching yourself out, it's gonna be freaky.
100%.
I can tell you right now, if I turned all the lights off on in my house and grabbed my phone and made, a little, and put the spooky music behind it, there was nothing in this documentary that I couldn't have done with my cell phone and an overlay of some spooky music. Literally nothing. There was nothing in there that couldn't have been done by everyone in this room right now. You can take a video of a football falling off of a chair and call it spooky and not even talk about that part because they're expecting people are going to know that was bullshit. I wanted something spooky in this and nothing was.
Yeah, I expected like a door to slam shut at the very least. Like that's like level 1 paranormal stuff.
Right,
And,
and
like, there wasn't anything
I think they had like the knock
jarring.
on the door.
Yeah.
There's like a little preview where, but it didn't like in the main. It I don't know. A door's shut, but
Right.
Yeah.
it's a drafty old house
Right.
with snakes in the basement.
I
so.
wanted cabinets to
Yeah.
slam or something. Like,
Okay.
just a little.
Pause.
I forgot about the basement snake.
Yeah.
Casual
Pause.
basement snakes.
Somebody put those there?
Can we
That's my
all
rating
agree?
for this. That's my rating item for this episode.
Yeah, basement snake.
Basement snakes out of 10.
There's no way that those things weren't placed there
100%.
before they. I mean, can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been ghosts.
Yeah. I mean, I would have taken one of those snake skins. That's kind of awesome.
That
but-
is so your vibe, too.
Yeah, thanks.
You would have put it on display on your shelves.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
You
I have snake
you
skin
would've
on
had-
my
It would have
shelf.
been awesome.
You would have had so many nightmares taking a snake skin from
Oh,
that
it's
basement.
true.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Andrew,
Your kids would never forgive you.
I can't sleep. Maybe it's my snakeskin headband, but we'll never know. You know?
Maybe.
Andrew, what was your standout moment or moments? What when you watched this and you were done? What stood out? What when you think of this? What's the image in your head? What part?
A bunch of questionable facial hair staring down the barrel of a camera, yelling "Oh geez."
Oh, my God.
Questionable facial hairs is the best thing I've ever
That's a
heard.
rating item.
Yeah.
Just the wandering around the woods and yelling like, "Oh gosh, oh geez, what the heck was that?" And I don't need them like effing and jeffing necessarily, but just
Excuse me?
you know. No offense. Some of my best friends are called Jeff. Just
I
that
didn't
sort
choose
of fake. Oh gee, oh golly, gee whiz, oh heck!
Is anyone out there? Can you speak
Right.
to us?
I would love it. Again, a vengeful neighbor out there, you know? Like,
Right.
is anyone out there? No. Like, all right, well, you heard it. Let's back up.
No.
Go to bed,
They
motherfucker.
said it.
Do we feel like this was, and I know the answer to this, but
Are you going to ask it anyway?
Bad? Yes.
yeah, I'm going to ask it anyway because we generally ask this about documentaries. Was it at least well made?
No.
No. It was thrown together.
Yeah. So
it was haphazard.
is there anything about this? Is there any,
Redeeming qualities?
any redeeming qualities? I mean,
They all seem to like each other
They're
very much.
passionate.
They're all,
They
True.
are passionate.
yeah.
They care. They
Yeah.
cared a lot.
I like
They seem like healthy couples. They all seem
Yeah.
pretty happy with each other. That's nice.
True.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's
That's
lovely.
On TV.
that's definitely not what they were going for in this.
The
Let's see.
takeaway being the producers liking each other.
Yeah. I feel like, and maybe I'm stretching just a little bit here because there was so much bad in this. I feel like the sound quality, the sound engineering and all that was okay if they were making like a B horror movie. You know, I could see like I said, the graphic design, some of the stuff that they did was fine for like a B-list horror movie.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't completely atrocious the way it was put together. It's just the content was so terrible
So bad.
that it took, everything away from
They
it.
wasted such a good name, like a good title, on such a shitty documentary. Like, I would
I'm
watch
gonna-
a horror movie called Sleepless Unrest.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you, Molly, because I think the Sleepless Unrest is pretty damn redundant.
It is. You're right.
And I think it was one of those things. It reminds me of back when I was trying to name bands.
I
And
was just gonna
Such
say.
an awesome band name.
and like, what's the most
Hardcore.
yeah, the most metal thing we can come up with, the Cranium Crushers.
The Death
What's
Eaters.
deep to a 15-year-old?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Sleepless and
Yes, dude.
these ghosts are wicked tired. That's what I was.
Wicked tired.
They're like, we just
Wicked
want to
tired
rest.
ghosts.
I could picture you in a band called The Sleepless Unrest.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. I don't know if I like that. Okay, so let's not talk about the documentary for just a second. Remember I said that I wanted to make the
Finally.
yeah.
Finally.
Remember how I said I wanted to make this episode at least somewhat enjoyable? So let's talk about let's forget about this documentary and let's just talk about the paranormal. Okay? And our feelings on it.
Yeah, maybe we're all just assholes because we're all skeptics.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe we just
Dude.
needed someone who was a true believer to change our minds.
I'm wondering, Brice, do you put any weight, any thought, any belief into the paranormal, the spirits, anything like that?
No, that's and I knew going in that I just wasn't gonna like this, and it was
Yeah.
just gonna be people spooking themselves out over nothing, and I wasn't let down in that regard.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's a positive.
And people are like, "Oh, that house is haunted." No, it's not.
Thanks, Brice.
And that's just kind of my stance.
You put things so eloquently, Brice.
I really
Like,
do.
I was like, "Oh, do you feel that? Yeah, it's a drafty house."
Right.
I sure do.
You hear that? Yeah, it's a floorboard
People say
moving.
there's a face in that window. Well, there was probably someone inside.
Right. Yeah, and just I don't mean to go back to the doc because we're not talking about it anymore. But when they went outside and they're like, "Oh, doesn't it look like there's someone in that window?" Like you really left like that part in when you already admitted that it was like a coat rack or some shit like that. Like, but that was the creepiest part was something you already knew was there.
Yeah.
It's just so dumb. Anyway, Molly, beliefs? Do you think that the spirits are there?
I don't really believe in ghosts. I feel like if I ever have a encounter, I would be more likely to believe it because I have friends that have sworn up and down that they've had weird things happen and whatever, but I've just never even had that. So for me, like there could be something with spiritualness and whatever, but like ghosts haunting like malevolent
Yeah.
things.
So
no.
so you believe there may be some sort of, spirits of some
Something,
sort, but not
yeah.
necessarily like a malicious haunting.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Where they lose me is like the aggression with it and like the haunting, the scary parts, because that just feels so made up to me because I haven't had a personal experience with it.
Right.
And I don't know anyone who's had malicious things. Like people have said like, oh, I have things going missing. Like I say that my apartment's haunted all the time, or I like blame my cat for things going missing because I'm like, oh, I didn't put this here. Like who did? I have a roommate and a cat. It probably just got pushed off the counter. Like
Right.
just like the logic behind it. I can't do it
Yeah, in my opinion, there's too many things
to explain it away.
that can explain it.
Right.
And oh no, this little piece of
Right.
dust that flew past my look,
The orb of light.
Yeah, I've put up so many security cameras in my
Right.
life and looked at footage, and that's a piece of dust, you
Right.
son of
They're
a bitch.
like, what's floating across the screen? And I'm like, it probably a fucking
You're
feather
in a-
from your pillow? I
You're
don't
a
know. A
filthy
fluff?
fucking house.
Right.
Like, sorry, I'm getting fired up again.
It's okay. We're not talking about the documentary.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
it's
right,
okay because
right.
you're getting fired up about nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, this is true.
Andrew, so when we talked a little bit, you said you're scared of everything. Now, does that mean that you have any kind of belief in the supernatural?
It's weird because I don't, but I would joke that like I'm like a skeptic during the daytime and like a real scaredy cat at night. So I don't think like, when I was a kid, I was scared of everything and was just convinced there were monsters everywhere. And, again, as I sit and talk to you from this, 140-year-old church,
Yep.
I really want to see this
I
church.
don't think there's any ghosts up here with me, which would be a fantastic time to hear some knocking.
Maybe a Holy
but-
Ghost. Am I right?
But, I've been in some places that I've been told are haunted. I've done some spooky things around here. And again, there is just this there's a real spooky vibe around here.
Yeah.
And I think I like that, despite being scared of everything, despite
Right.
not really enjoying horror movies. Like, I like that kind of mystery.
Yep.
And maybe it's more than likely just my brain, maybe there's some imperceptible energy.
Yep.
I don't think it's malicious ghosts or
Right.
the devil or anything like that. But I'm pretty dang skeptical, but I'm not. There's a little room in my heart for some spooky stuff.
Yeah, I want to be scared. I want it to like.
So you enjoy being
I want
scared.
it to work. Yeah, I want to watch a good one and then be like, oh my god, maybe. Oh my god, like I.
Right.
And then I want to be freaked out by it, but I just.
Yeah.
This definitely didn't do it for me.
No.
So.
I'm going to talk to Andrew just a little bit since he's our guest. And obviously everyone can chime in. So you grew up in Rhode Island most of your childhood, and you said you were a scaredy little boy. And was there any stories that stand out to you? Anything any like little tales or lore or anything like that you first of all, do you believe that part of the country is, if hauntings are real, is more haunted than some of the other spots in the country?
There's something here that feels different, and I bet a lot of that has to do with just the fact that they're, a farmhouse from the 1700s.
Right.
That thing they're showing. There's the across the street from me right now is a house from the 1700s. Actually, this little Wickford has like one of the largest populations of extant 18th century housing. So it's like there's just one of the oldest Baptist churches in the country is just around the corner from where I'm sitting, like early 1700s. There's just a lot of that. There's a lot of these stories of terrified Puritans dying in hard conditions.
Yeah.
There's lots of, like King Philip's War, Metacom's War, that all of these things where
natives,
horrible things were done to the native population.
Mm-hmm.
The native population was able to get revenge on some of the Puritan population. Like there's just a lot of those. So it feels spooky and creepy and the witch and all that stuff.
So
it
was
feels,
was there anything any specific stories that you can scare us with that you were told growing up that kind of stuck with you?
There's a bunch, and there's one I'll tell you, but even we would go to visit my grandfather just in the same town, and you go down Devil's Foot Road, and
Devil's
just the fact
Foot?
that Devil's Foot Road, because there was a legend of a devil chasing a woman, and there's a hoof print in the rock and an area where the tail scraped down the rock.
See, that's
and
fucking
a lot
awesome.
Of these, and that's just stuff my dad would tell me as we were turning down the road. He'd be like, "Oh, that's where I got in a fight in the drive-in, and that's where your mom grew up, and that's where a devil chased a guy." And you're like, "That's
what now?
As a young kid, you're just like, these
Devil's
are all
Foot Road
facts.
is a good band
this
name.
is all true."
True.
So then you're just kind of surrounded by those sort of things. But
I like
one
Devil's
town
Foot
over from us is a place called Exeter, which again, it's just kind of a normal town, but it was always thought of as like a little more rural, a little more wooden. And there was this thing we would always hear about called Mercy Brown, who was a young woman who was thought to be a vampire.
Okay.
And it's one of those stories I heard a million times. And then one day I heard them talking about it on a podcast, and I was like, people know my vampire? Like, how do they know my vampire? But the idea was that there was this young woman who had been basically, her family starts dying around her, and they see her walking around at night, and she appears ghostly, and there's blood running down her mouth. So they just start to think like, oh, she's doing this. Well, she dies. People are still dying in the village. So they go and they exhume her body. They cut out her heart. There's still blood in her heart. So they assume, so they did what any of us would do, which is they burned her heart and fed it to her family in order to break the spell.
Yeah. Because that's what you
they
do.
Buried her.
I want a documentary
normal
about this.
stuff. So they buried her, covered it up, and they thought they had done it, but members of her family still died. Now, of course, the most horrible thing is she had tuberculosis.
Oh my
That's
Jesus.
why she had the blood in her mouth. That's
Right.
why people were still dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard this story, and it wasn't until I was an adult that I found out this is not Puritans. This is not Salem witchcraft. This was the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
This
Not being
was
advanced in medical.
trains.
Right. This was blaming witchcraft on blaming like medical ailments on demonic possession, when no, that guy had syphilis.
Right.
Right.
And
so we, as kids, we would go to this gravestone, and it was stolen once, and then so now it's like bolted to the ground. And I take the kids there pretty regularly for nice normal New England cemetery walk and go pay our
guys,
respects.
Boys, it's rainy. Let's go to the cemetery.
Oh my God.
But hey, you've met my kids. They're creeps. Why not?
Yeah, your kids are
You
awesome.
guys love creepy shit in Rhode Island, huh?
They do. Might
It's
be,
fair.
again, the Devil's Foot Rock. It's, hey, you want to get a coffee and go check out a young woman who they exhumed and burned her heart? And the kids were like,
Yes.
absolutely, Dad.
I
This is
want to
great.
go.
And then your youngest son puts on a monster costume and draws the coolest picture of a dinosaur, and then you
It's
run.
like you were there.
Yeah.
It's like you were there.
Andrew, I need a ghost
and
tour of Rhode Island.
The only time I've ever done a Ouija board, we
Tell
took
me.
a Ouija board to the gravestone
What?
in the middle of the night. And I believed in spirits that night, my friends. It was horrifying, and we all ran away. And thankfully, everybody else got scared, so I didn't have to look like the one that was like, "We must leave this place."
So for at least one night, you were a believer.
There were lots of very haunted places around here, but that was kind of perpetually my favorite. And again, if a disease which would be cured not that much longer after this rips through your village, kills everybody, they take a young girl who dies tragically, cut her heart out, and feed it to her family. That's bad. That's no good.
So bad.
Even if it's not paranormal, even if it's not, ghost, that's still creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just go to a place like that, and if you have a soul, you feel creeped out. You feel bad, you just wish things were different.
When you not to get, too somber here, but for the same reason that, when I went to, let's say, like the Holocaust Museum in DC, and you walk into the one of the railway cars where they had, people on their way, you feel a heaviness. What's the same thing, if you know that these things happen in this place, I think there is a whether it's a spirit or whether it's just your own emotions weighing heavy on you, you add the smell of a musty basement or the cool breeze coming through a drafty attic or something like that. Or you have everyone's hands on a Ouija board and everyone thinks the other people are pushing it, but it's not, that opens you up to I like the thought of being creeped out about stuff. Brice, you ever done a Ouija board?
No, I've played a Wii.
It's basically the same thing.
Same.
This is why I ask Brice so many questions, because he has such great answers. God damn you.
He's so eloquent.
Yeah.
Andrew, I don't think you're as scared of things as you self-proclaim to be if you've done a Ouija board in a fucking cemetery.
Yeah.
It's
it's probably just peer pressure. I probably just wanted.
He's like, I'm scared of everything, and I like being scared of
he's
everything.
like, I'm in the scariest place in the country, doing the scariest things for fun.
Let's go around the room and all the way to Rhode Island with Andrew, and we'll start with Andrew. Would you stay for 2 weeks in the Conjuring house? And if you do, sorry, I paused there.
Go on.
If it's yes, who and what would you take with you?
Ooh, it's like the deserted island question times 12.
I love old houses so much. I love old architecture. I will just, when we're done at the graveyard, we go and we look at the old houses, and I love it.
Yep.
But no.
Okay.
No, I would not. The whole idea of staying in, I don't even like not sleeping in my own bed.
Right.
I would love to accompany all of you to a beautiful old, pre-American farmstead. That sounds lovely, but the problem is I'm going to be in some uncomfortable bed wishing that I was not hearing whatever squeaks and thinking about this awful documentary.
Right.
I just don't.
So I
need a hotel nearby.
Don't think I could do it.
So okay, so let's try to forget for a second that about the dumbness around the documentary, and if it's just a haunted house, right? Like, they've got the Villisca Axe murder house around here, and countless other ones around. Is it just not your thing? You don't.
If we were to do it, it would have to be a party, and not an actual party, because I don't like those either. But it would have to be a group of people. We're all kind of in it. We're all having fun. It's not going to be weird. There's going to be people around. I could do it. I mean, I know right now if I asked my lovely wife to come stay in a haunted house with me, she would tell me to go to hell.
Right.
So
who are you taking with you? You can say me.
God. Yeah, you. Come on. Let's do it. You know what? I would need somebody who was into it enough to be like, hey, this is fun.
Yeah.
But also not somebody who's going to wake me up and be like, I saw a haunting.
I felt it right by my neck.
Right. Did you hear that knocking? And I'd be like, I know. I heard you wake me up, which was uncool. But...
Hey, are you awake? Yeah, now I'm awake, motherfucker.
I think I heard a snake shimmying out of its skin downstairs.
Right. Brice, you going to the Conjuring house? And if you are, who are you taking with you?
Brice is going.
I would go.
I knew you.
Like, if it's is it free?
Are you feeding me?
Can I stay somewhere for 2 weeks?
Can I bring my Little Caesars pizza?
Yeah, and is there a Little Caesars nearby?
No, Dunkin'. We talked about this.
Y'all got Wi-Fi?
Yeah. The Wi-Fi password is spooky.
Yeah.
One of the O's is a 0, though. So just,
for security's sake. Yeah.
Molly, are you going?
I'm not going. I would be so
not
grumpy. No, I would be so grumpy. I'd be so... I wouldn't want to sleep on those little cots that those people were in with the birthing room right next to me.
Yeah, why did the one family get the nice bed and the other guys got
actual
bullshit?
Guest room? Yeah, and then they got 2 cots on the ground.
They probably bankrolled the whole thing. They're like, we're taking the goddamn bed. I don't know.
Yeah, I would not be going.
Maybe this question wasn't good because of how we felt about the documentary. I guess my feeling is, are you one to say, when someone says, hey, there's this spooky place, are you one to go, leave me the fuck away from that? Or are you one to go, let's go check it out?
I want to go to the spooky place before it's 8 p.m. I will.
Yes.
I think the spooky place ends and closes at 8 p.m. sharply.
Sign me up.
Right. Like, I'm down. If we want to go have dinner, if we want to go on a ghost tour, I'm so in.
Yeah.
But as soon as the sun is all the way down and there's no light, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to bed. I'm not going past then. Because then I am going to psych myself out.
Right.
In college, me and some friends allegedly broke into an abandoned part of the regional center in Hastings, and the only lighting in the place was exit signs. So everything was glowing red, and there's still Christmas decorations up.
That's so spooky.
And and then there's like tunnels underneath, right? Because like someone dies, like, oh, we can't bring this body out the front.
Yeah, we got to take them to the morgue.
Yeah, we couldn't get through the tunnels; they were sealed. But
so
wait, Can we pause? What building was this that there were tunnels underneath for dead bodies?
It was like a regional center for like
What's a regional
people
center?
going crazy or something.
Like I think it's
what's
like
the word I'm looking
an
for?
asylum or
Oh,
kind of like
what?
yeah, kind of that sort of thing.
Oh my God! See, I
There are a
remember
couple
there.
of those very,
Before
very
dark?
haunted
Oh
ones
no, it was
around
pitch
here.
dark. And there's a cemetery out there with like no names on some of the tombs and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Andrew's scared of everything. Brice is scared of nothing.
yeah.
I'm scared of things. I'm claustrophobic.
Okay.
Noted.
Yeah.
So for me, I love the idea of, like I said, of being like creeped out, but I get creeped out more kind of what Brice just alluded to, like when you see the things that used to happen here and are not happening here anymore, that to me is more spooky and eerie and creepy. Like there used to be this school across from my great grandma's
Right.
house that had been abandoned forever, but we would climb up the brick. There was like a fire escape, and you'd climb up it, and you could see through the windows, and there were still chalkboards with writing on them, and like the what do you call it? The alphabet, that thing we use all the time.
Right.
The alphabet on the wall, and like drawings from the kids, and like flies all over the ground and the windowsills that had died in there. See, to me, that is creepier
Absolutely.
than this house.
Right.
Just kind of my take on things. But I do enjoy, some of the motorcycle trips that I go on. I like to find the lore. I like to find the spots where,
That's the best part.
yeah, find something
the
that's
story
creepy.
behind it.
Yeah, do I believe it? No, I don't. Maybe something really did happen there, and it's creepy, and that's cool. And I like saying this was fun, and if you felt kind of eerie walking through this cave or whatever, that's a fun experience in some ways. We probably should have found someone that has a firm belief in
Right.
the paranormal to be the counterpoint to this, but that's all right. We do what the fuck we want here.
I like that somebody else believes it and
Yeah.
there's a story behind it. Like I love the narrative of it. I just don't personally have experience with it. But
Agreed.
the abandoned school, abandoned mall, abandoned hospital,
Abandoned stuff is fucking sweet.
it's like you took life
Except for
and
kids.
you paused it one day. Yeah, what?
Except for children. Abandoned children are not cool.
Yeah. You took life and you paused it one day, and then everything just kind of stayed the same, and that's what's so scary, because you could see someone walking into that classroom and you could see the kids drawing those things, and then you're like, this hasn't been touched in years. That's
Where are those kids now? Where are those
Right,
teachers now?
right.
Why didn't they take that with them when this
Right.
closed down?
yeah. Why did they not throw away the alphabet thing?
There was
drawings.
there was an asylum that shut down around here years ago that was haunted, and that
You
was
guys
like a
have
place we would
everything.
go. We've got a little bit of everything. And
Rhode Island.
I remember
Rhode Island.
telling my father about it and being like, Dad, we went to the lab center. It's haunted. And he's like, no, it's not. I was like, yeah. One day they shut down and they just let everybody out in the woods. And he was like, that's not how institutions work. It's like mostly these things were defunded by the governments. They stopped spending money on these things, and people got put in care homes or things
Or
like that. It's
euthanized.
not like that. And I
Maybe
go,
not.
no, no,
brought
Dad,
out
I
through
think
tunnels.
I think it's haunted. And he was like, all of the scariest stuff that happened there happened when it was open.
Yeah.
And that was so much more terrifying to me.
Yes, dude.
That's so true.
All right, so Talkumentary. This is a show where we watch documentaries and then we talk about them, but we rate them. So Andrew, I'm going to start with you. We rate these documentaries on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being an absolute piece of ghost poop, and number 10 being on par with one of the best documentaries you've ever seen in your entire life. Then we average them together and we give an official Talkumentary rating. This week we've chosen Bathsheba's, even though Bathsheba was never mentioned in this documentary, which she should have been.
They talked about this book that fell or something, and they're like, "Oh, this paper came out of it. Oh, wouldn't that be crazy if
coincidentally.
it said Bathsheba?"
Oh yeah,
But
that's
it
true.
didn't, and they,
That's what I said about it.
Yeah.
So they mentioned it barely.
Okay, so they do.
Kind of.
So consider I stand corrected. So Andrew, Bathsheba's. How many Bathshebas do you rank this wonderful documentary?
Well, I would say this is no Grey Gardens. This felt more like a Instagram self-facing influencer video than it was a documentary, and therefore I give it 1/2 Sheba.
This should have been a YouTube special for sure.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
A half.
which
Andrew
one
gives it a
half
half
Sheba.
Sheba. Okay, very good. I appreciate the wordplay there too with a show like Talkumentary. We appreciate those. So thank you, Andrew.
I know
We
my
love
audience.
Yeah. Brice,
Uh-huh.
how many Bathshebas?
I gave it a solid 2.
Okay.
The reason is it's a couple, and they got 2 weeks away from the kids, and they set out to make a documentary on whatever happens. Sadly, nothing happens. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
The house isn't actually haunted.
Molly.
Oh, man.
I gave it 3 Bathshebas.
Okay. So surprisingly 3, that's the highest
That's the
one
highest
because
one.
I'm giving a 1.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It served a purpose of making me laugh, even though it wasn't its intention. So,
Okay.
I
fair
did.
enough.
It was enjoyable to the fact that it did make me chuckle.
You didn't
quite
fall
a few
asleep?
times.
Okay.
I did not fall asleep, and I did giggle when he was lowering himself in the sump pump hole in the ground,
Yep.
and when they opened the birthing room, and there was the perfectly curated
Right.
sand pentagram.
Right.
I got a chuckle out of it. So
Very good. So with Andrew's half Sheba, Brice with the 2 Bathshebas, Molly's 3, and my 1, that gives us a 1.625
I feel like that's
if you're being generous. So 1.625 Bathshebas is the official documentary rating for this stupid ass documentary. Andrew Milko, I want to thank you, my friend, for spending some time with us tonight, sharing the spookiness of Rhode Island, showing us how right we were to dislike this documentary. But truthfully, you gave the spookiest part of this documentary came from your story. So
100%.
thank you, man.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. If you ever want to, anybody wants to come out to Rhode Island, I make an excellent tour guide.
Andrew, you've already sold me. I want to go. You
Yeah,
should be like
you should.
a director of tourism there, because like I want to read a pamphlet of all your favorite places.
Yeah.
So bad.
I'll start making a list.
Love it. Ghost tour guide.
Andrew has a wonderful family, so shout out to your family. I miss them very much. You make wonderful art and tattoos. Where can people find you, Mr. Milko, if they want to? If you want
You
to
can
plug.
find me on the Instagrams at Andrew_Milko or at theotherclub.ri, my little studio where I make all sorts of arts. You can also find me at andrewmilko.com, and I take commissions for paintings and design and tattoos and whatever other arts you need.
Yeah. So everybody, take a look at wherever you're listening to this podcast, and look at the nice little logo that we have. Andrew was gracious enough to make that for us. So thank you, sir, for that. You've done amazing work. I've given you like a third of my body to tattoo. And
We've had some projects.
Yeah, we've done signage, we've done all kinds of stuff. So, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. As for the rest of the crew, you all know that if I was going to go to a haunted place and sleep overnight, that there's no one else that I would take. So, besides maybe my lovely bride to be.
Nikki's coming for sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing: she would actually be scared as
That's
shit.
okay.
So
That's okay.
But that would actually
We'll
be
protect her.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I do best, right?
We're so skeptical that her scaredness would add another layer of fun, because
It's
it'd be
true.
like, it's okay, Nikki. It was just Brice fucking around in the other room. Woo!
And then I come out of a different room like, no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me. Let's talk about next week's episode. For next week, our crew will be lightening things up just a little bit with a look at the hilarious and kind of outrageous documentary called Winnebago Man.
Whoop, whoop.
This is a film that looks into the internet phenomenon that was a series of 20-year-old video outtakes from a Winnebago salesman who became YouTube famous for his profane outbursts. This documentary is touted to be one of the funniest documentaries ever made. So
I'm
we
so
will
excited.
find out if that's how it goes. Andrew, Brice, Molly, anyone seen Winnebago Man?
I have
I'm
not.
familiar with Winnebago, man.
Okay, well, Andrew, I hope that you check it out. I know we are. I am looking forward to this one. Documentaries have a tendency a lot of times to be serious or make you, thought-provoking and things like that. I like when we run across one that hopefully makes us laugh and go, what the hell? And it looked like a good time. I watched the trailer, but I haven't seen it yet, so hopefully this accomplishes a few laughs because I love to laugh. Laughing is my favorite. Winnebago Man can be streamed on Tubi, so you're going to have to watch ads, but you get to see it for free, so that's cool. Next week, we're going to put on our shirts and ties. We're going to stand in front of our Winnebagos and yell profanities directly into the camera, one
Yes.
documentary at a time. If you want to connect with our documentary crew, look for @Talkumentary Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or you can reach out to us via email at info.talkumentary@gmail.com. On behalf of Andrew, Milko, Molly, Brice, and the entire Talkumentary family, I'm your host, Jeff Kolaski, and I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Andrew, say bye.
Bye.
Bathsheba Sherman.